this game, BSJ?
High tempo on both sides. That's what I'm looking for. Low cooldown, all run at you brawl. I think the only longest cooldown we'll see here is Tidehunter, potentially. That was Jenkins' courageous pick going into
I believe Tidehunter will receive a pick or a ban, and if Team Secret don't ban it, it will be Spirit's first choice.
Okay.
What about Mars?
Because of Collapse?
No. Yep, because of Collapse. It's their favorite guy. I know people like to see Collapse on something that's cooler, something that's more high skill, let's say. But it's been a classic for them throughout this tournament. They've kind of rested their hopes and dreams on the shoulders of this Tidehunter, and it's worked out for them. But so has the Mars, the Collapse Mars with the armlet, with the hitting the spears, no blink dagger. That looked really great as well.
With viewers that have missed other days, haven't seen the grace of Tidehunter, BSJ, can you tell us why he's such a great hero?
Teamfight always comes into play at TI, and Tidehunter is just the easiest hero to execute. The Kraken Shell makes it almost impossible to burst you down. We're seeing specific lineups and specific combos that are crafted just to remove that. And yesterday we saw like a Silver Edge, Tiny, we've seen that deal with it. We've seen Disruptors, Dooms. PA got picked exclusively for the Fan of Knives Ag Shard purchase that Team Spirit did. That was a way they bursted down the tide. Just a crucial hero in this meta that simplifies your game plan.
And there's another hero that we've been seeing a lot, Magnus.
Yeah, this is a great one. We've talked about it a lot. We've talked about it with Seb and all the pro players that have been here. And the biggest theory around Magnus is that during TI, team fighting is incredibly important. BKBs are incredibly important. Magnus is great at dealing with both of those things because of reverse polarity. But probably the biggest thing is the fact that if you have this kind of structured, you're standing on a high ground, you're just like playing with this formation, Magnus just breaks it. He just goes in there, tosses you up with his horn, and then skewers you 20,000 feet away. And it's like, good luck holding a formation when you're in the enemy fountain.
That's true. We heard the counter to it is Yule Scepters as well as Force Staffs. That's the way, if you Force Staff or any forced movement on Mag when he skewers, it will cancel the skewer effectively, and whoever's getting skewered will stop moving. So we have to keep an eye out for that as a way for Team Spirit to prevent what we saw happen to OG, where Sumail started sieging the tier 3s and suddenly he's in the fountain.
Ended up in the fountain. Yeah, that was rough. The cooldown is really like the big thing for me, where Mag is in and out and in and out. It's like, so you start off this chaotic fight by breaking the formation, and then because your formation is broken, it's like it gives the Magnus a second opportunity to skewer you into an even worse position because this chaotic fight has started, and Magnus just loves chaos.
Team Spirit goes for an emblematic combo, Io plus Mars. Purge made a whole segment about these combos, how strong it is, how they win lanes with this. And it's not going to be Jenkins type, but it's going to actually be the Mars instead.
Yeah, the nice thing about the Io is most of the offlaners that have been building Armlet have some sort of innate sustain, such as the Legion Commander. And it didn't really seem like a viable build on Mars. The reason why Armlet's being picked up so much is it's been buffed several times. It's 75 damage for any strength hero when it's activated, and the IO allows the Mars to actually use it, and they've been putting a lot of pressure on the tower with that, taking it really early, something Mars doesn't always do. And you also have a built-in crit with your bulwarks, or God's Rebuke, excuse me.
And the like infinite sustain too with Mars. I remember like one of the best ways to win a lane on Mars, and the reason that like at least when he was first added to the game, people were like, this hero doesn't lose lanes, even to get something that's a lane dominator like Elder Titan, like Slark, like Ursa, these sorts of heroes that just punch you and lane dominate you. You have 2 nukes. You just spam your nukes with regen, and so people were building a bottle back then against these counters, and the IO just makes it so that you don't need any regen. So you've got that combo in the laning stage. It also means the Mars has the mobility so you can build into the armlet. You have the sustain so you can build into the armlet. And what do you want with an IO? You want a hero that can set up a team fight somewhere for you on the other side of the map. So if they pick a carry with this, Mars can set up with his ult into Spear, and then IO can relocate the carry in, and all of a sudden you've got this huge disruptive team fight, which IO loves.
Yeah, you were mentioning the Tide coming into this series, and the thing about Mars is the way Collapse adapted it is he kind of turns into a Tide. Like he doesn't rely on the blink, surprise, Yule, like, spears. He's more of a guy. I'm walk in, I dare you to go on me. If you don't go on me, we take control of this area, whether it's Roche or the Triangle.
Yeah,
and if you do go on me,
item.
he just arenas because he's so tanky, and suddenly you're trapped in there with him. So it's like a pseudo stun, more of a crowd control that lasts much longer than most ultimates.
He was being so patient with the Mars ults yesterday, and I was really impressed by that just because I feel like traditionally, and I know it's a relatively new hero, but for the hero's entire existence, it's the initiation. You start with the Mars ult. It's not this thing that you hold off on like the Tidehunter ulti. But that's also how Tide started. Tide was an initiator. You call Tide an initiator these days, you sound like an idiot. It's a counter initiator. You wait for a fight to start, then you hit a big Ravage. And so Collapse is kind of doing that with the Mars ulti as well.
Yeah, we've seen actually this transition in a couple other heroes. Legion Commander was in the same pool of buy Blink first. People realized Blink first pretty bad. You need stats. Now we're seeing Armlet Legion. Before we're seeing Pipe as well. So it's maybe that's just the best offlaner to play, really. A third core, not just someone that can go in and stun someone.
Yeah, I think at the very least, having that in your toolbox for what you can do on the hero and knowing when you can do it like that. So, like, you can obviously still play Mars as an initiator. Tidehunter as well. We've seen blinks into Ravages on literally just a solo carry. So you're effectively, it's like, at that point, it's a Lion Stun. Which sounds terrible for like a 200-second cooldown ability or whatever.
But you need to.
But sometimes that's what you have to do. And so having these different options available to you is what makes a hero stronger as the game progresses and people get better.
Let's talk about a different hero here, the ET, also a very popular pick. Thoughts on this with the ET Magnus? We have seen ET kind of carry games with his Empower plus the Cleave talent.
Yeah, I think the difference between ET and what we saw yesterday when Team Spirit ran Mars IO against IG was the IG had an Abaddon 5, which is a support that to do his job has to be right next to everybody because all of his abilities are really low cast range. So I think the ET is not only good for all the reasons ET is already really good, but the fact that Mars Arena probably isn't going to trap him. He's not going to get caught if he eventually gets an Ags, gets played as a 4 position maybe.
You just ult into it
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, you cast all your spells from outside of it, so it shouldn't affect him at all, which makes the pick even better.
I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but this is something that maybe this is because I'm like a bad ET player, but I noticed that people are using the ET ult at like max range now, so that way the moment that splitter hits you, it pops, and so it's catching people. Like they're using it with setups. Whereas before, I remember it used to be like ETs would kind of walk into melee range and then ult, and then it was this like slow thing that you had to have setup for. Speaking of setup, that's a hero.
That's crazy. We have not seen this hero much. We have not seen much success on this hero at all. Only small buffs, like the dual breath, for example, cast point got buffed. Now it's harder for Rubik to counter it.
The Liquid Fire also got buffed, though.
Yeah, Liquid Fire got
pretty
small buffs.
significantly.
This was an unplayed hero until now. This is literally just an unplayed hero.
During the main event, because it was definitely picked in the group.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, for the last week. So yeah, during the main event.
Okay.
And so
And then there's the Rubik
there's
counter.
the Rubik counter. Instant
There it
counter.
is.
That's funny. Okay. Yeah, it's such a good hero and another really like low played hero is the Rubik, at least in the main event. And so it's a great hero to steal a bunch of spells from. You've got a stun, you know, if you steal the Macro Pyre, you got like the extra range on it, the extra damage on it.
You want to steal Ice Path, though. That's
Ice Path is like, yeah, that is the creme de la creme of spells. But Jakiro, I really do think the buff to the Q and it being such a low cast point is a huge upgrade. I remember talking to like Owie after the hero got changed, and he was like, yeah, I think like Jakiro's an offlaner now. Like Jakiro's good enough that you can play it in the offlane.
Mage Slayer.
Just because of that buff. Yeah, Mage Slayer. Honestly, even Dragonlance or something like that. And his what's the tower damage? Liquid Fire. Liquid Fire is a lot of damage at level 1 too. Like it does a ton now. So you can actually siege with this hero as well from a 5 position.
Yeah, the Storm is necessary for Team Spirit's lineup as the Jakiro, usually they'll pick something like Disruptor or Bane from Aposhka here, but instead, since they don't have as much setup for the relocate, the Mars is most likely going to be with the IO for the early portion of the game. You do need a mid laner that's going to be that setup. Storm Spirit's been the best one so far this tournament, I think, especially for Toronto, Tokyo. The Terrorblade, really nice lane matchup against the Mars. You can eventually tank the spear with your illusions. The spear will do damage to multiple targets, but it'll only impale, one target. So you can tank those in the early laning stage, and then also Terrorblade's like a pseudo ranged hero in the laning phase. So ET front lines for you. You'll be able to hit a lot more on the Metamorphosis. But they're super greedy on Team Spirit. On Team Secret. You have Magnus Terrorblade. That's a pretty weak mid game.
Big damage though, huge late game damage, like borderline unbeatable just because of the Empower buff on top of the TB base damage. I actually don't mind the idea on Spirit of sending the Jakiro against the ET TB lane. I feel like that would do extremely well. It's weird because it breaks up the IO Mars combination, but an ET is never going to run at you if he has a Jakiro slow on him. And the Terrorblade, this is a hero that has really high armor and also wants to right-click you, so you've got the attack slow with the Jakiro spell, as well as tons of magic damage, right? So maybe they'll do that, but we've thought that before with some IO combination, and then teams just don't like to break up the IO from whatever the pairing is, whether it's Slaughter or Mars.
Spirit especially. I want to point out though that this is a TB that's picked into a Storm and a Jakiro, so a fair amount of magical damage in that mid game. Not too difficult to burst him down, and this could play into BSJ's point about it being quite greedy. There's going to be a power spike for Team Spirit that's kind of hard to deal with for Secret right now.
Yeah, I'm wondering about their carry matchup because Terrorblade ET covers a lot of heroes. Usually you want like a melee strength hero that buys armor against ET because he only removes base armor, but then those heroes like Sven are pretty bad versus the Terrorblade in a 1v1.
Really? Because
Yeah.
some teams had the theory months ago that was the Sven was actually the
That was the patch that Sven was like completely busted as well.
Ursa's banned, Monkey King's banned,
I'm leaning
Tiny's
towards, like,
banned.
Troll looks like the best hero for me from Team Spirit that's left.
Troll Jakiro sounds insanely strong against like literally anything you can put in
That's
the
true.
offlane. Like you would basically need a Purge hero, but it's Team Secret's pick, so that's not you're not going to get that unless you're preempting the Troll.
They might go for the Quap. Oh no, they banned the Quap. How about Lina? Something to lane dominate the Storm. Death
Yeah,
Prophet.
that makes sense.
Oh, okay, of course.
So they go for like the game counter then. Like does fine in the lane because you just nuke it out, and then the game counter is that you have the Yule Scepter to catch the Storm.
And there's going to be a Spectre then. It does fulfill a couple of the things you're talking about. Not the most agi carry per se. The armor is not what makes Spectre strong. She still has her passives. And even though her core to core against TB is bad, she can avoid him in fights.
They
That's
also
the goal.
have a lot of jump and magic burst on the side of Team Spirit, and if it's not quite enough to bring down a Terrorblade, suddenly he's going to get that Sunder, turn the entire fight. The Spectre offers that little bit of extra damage with the Ags that now cast the dagger, so it's an extra 300 damage coming in from the Spectre. They rely completely on map control in Team Spirit, and it's going to come down to Collapse because Storm, Spectre, super greedy in the laning stage, and we saw yesterday that Collapse was able to get them through that early to mid game, so that's the hero I'm looking out for here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Spirit wants to make sure that they're shutting down the Terrorblade because they have good ways of mitigating the Terrorblade and not taking damage from him, like the Mars Bulwark, for example. But they don't have great ways of killing him once he gets like the Satanic Scotty sort of thing. So like once he has those items, I could see Team Secret completely popping off. But Team Spirit wants to pop off in the laning stage and with the rotations around the map, as opposed to just like in team fights.
So there's going to be a small window opportunity for Spirit to be able to pop off and destroy Secret before they can get
Definitely, and Secret just wants to farm their own
It's
side of
like
the map.
25 to 40 minutes is all Spirit, and I think as you go on from there, Team Secret will take it.
I don't even need to send it to you for the last word. Now I got it already for free.
There you go, easy.
That's incredible. All right, so what can Secret do to prevent this early pop-off? What's their best bet?
I really do think it's holding their tier 1 towers. You got Mag, you got Terrorblade, you just need space on the map to farm, but we saw the Collapse Armlet Mars.